Heck, Toyota's cranked out some of the toughest engines the world's ever seen. But they've also built a few that'll make you cuss when the head gaskets blow or the thing starts drinking oil like a sailor on shore leave. I've been around long enough to see both sides of it, and damn, the difference between Toyota's legends and their flops is night and day. Hello everyone. This is Scott from CarlandTV. It's time to hop in the front seat, because today, I'm tearing into the 3 Toyota engines that'll break your heart, and the 3 that'll run so long you'll be handing the keys to your grandkids. But first, do me a quick favor. Tap that subscribe button and ring the bell so you don't miss what's coming next. It ain't required, but those clicks keep this thing rolling and make it easier for me to keep dropping solid car content straight to your screen. Now, let's get back into it. Alright, let's lay the groundwork here. When folks talk about Toyota, they usually bring up 2 things: reliability and resale. And that's not just some marketing pitch. Toyota's earned it over decades. Their engines have powered everything from bulletproof Hilux trucks that warlords couldn't kill overseas to Camrys that rack up 300,000 miles, hauling kids to soccer practice without more than an oil change and timing belt. But here's something that you need to know. Every Toyota motor came out of the factory as a home run. Some of them were flat-out problem children, and they've left scars on owners' wallets and reputations alike. So here's the plan. I'm going to dive into the 3 worst engines Toyota ever built, then redeem things with the 3 best. And trust me, by the end of this, you'll see exactly why some Toyotas end up in junkyards early and others become legends. Worst Toyota engine: Hasson 3VZ E 3-liter 5.6, early 1,990 seconds. Alright, let's talk about the 3VZE, Toyota's 3-liter V6 from the late 80 seconds and early 90 seconds trucks and 4Runners. Folks were pumped when it came out. Finally, a V6 for the Tacoma's older cousins, more power than those old 4-bangers. But heck, this thing turned into a straight headache. The head gaskets blew so often that Toyota had to do a recall in the mid-90 seconds, and I've seen plenty of these motors milkshake the oil before they even hit 100 kelvins miles. You'd fire it up in the driveway and watch white smoke roll out the tailpipe like a chimney. And don't think you were getting much performance for all that pain. The thing barely made 150 horses, pushing a truck that weighed close to 2 tons. Step on the gas pulling a trailer, and it felt like you were asking the engine for a favor it didn't want to do. Gas mileage? Forget it, you were lucky to scrape mid-teens. To make it worse, the engine bay was packed tight. Doing a head gasket job or even basic service was a knuckle-busting, wallet-draining experience. Plenty of owners just said screw it and dumped the truck when the problem stacked up. Compared to the 22RE that came before it, the 4-cylinder everybody swears by, the 3VZE was a letdown. This motor left a bad taste that hung around Toyota's V6 seconds for years. And when they followed it up with the 1MZFE, people hoped Toyota had learned their lesson. But man, that engine came with a whole different mess. Worst Toyota engine: #2. 1MZFE, 3-liter 5.6, late 1,990 seconds, 2,000 seconds. Now here's a motor that fooled a lot of people at first. The 1MZFE. Toyota rolled it out in the mid-90 seconds, dropping it into Camrys, Avalons, and Lexus ES300 seconds. On day 1, it felt like a winner. Smooth as butter, quiet, and way more refined than the clunky truck V6 seconds of the past. Families loved it. But damn, once the miles piled up, the sludge nightmare came knocking. By the early 2000 seconds, owners across the country were dealing with engines suffocating under baked-up oil sludge. I'm not talking about 200,000-mile beaters either. These things were gunking up before 60,000 miles, sometimes sooner. The design just ran hot, with tight oil return passages that didn't forgive long intervals between changes. Even folks who followed the manual religiously got blindsided. Bearings got starved, lifters ticked, and before you knew it, that silky smooth V6 was knocking like a diesel. It got so bad that Toyota had to launch a special repair program covering sludge cleanup for up to 8 years. That's a huge move for a company that built its reputation on bulletproof reliability. Mechanics hated tearing into them because once sludge set in, you weren't cleaning it. You were rebuilding or replacing the whole engine. And the crazy part? When the 1MZFE was healthy, it really was one of the nicest daily driver V6 seconds of its time. But the sludge scandal was too big to ignore. It cemented this engine's place on Toyota's worst list, and for good reason. Worst Toyota engine: #3, 2AZ, 2.4, liter 1.4, 2,000 seconds, 2,010 seconds. The 2AZ-FE was supposed to be Toyota's bread and butter 4-cylinder for the 2,000 seconds. You'd find it in Camrys, RAV4 seconds, Highlanders, Scion TCs, and even the first-gen Toyota Matrix. On paper, it looked like the perfect commuter motor, 2.4 liters, decent fuel economy, smooth enough for daily driving. But heck, this engine ended up making a lot of loyal Toyota owners question everything they thought they knew about the brand. The ugliest problem? Strip the head bolt threads in the aluminum block. Around 80 to 120,000 miles, these motors had a nasty habit of pulling the head bolts right out of the block, usually after overheating. Once that happened, you weren't just slapping in a new gasket, you were looking at a machine shop job or a new short block. That's thousands of dollars. Way more than most folks wanted to sink into a 10-year-old Camry. And if that wasn't enough, the 2AZFE also became infamous for oil consumption. Toyota eventually admitted certain model years, especially 2007 to 2009, burned a quart every 1,200 miles or less. They even issued a service bulletin and extended warranty coverage for piston and ring replacements. Still, plenty of owners never got the fix and just lived with topping off oil like it was windshield washer fluid. Now, some 2AZFEs ran fine with meticulous care, but the pattern of failures was too consistent to ignore. Between the head bolt fiasco and the oil burner reputation, this motor carved out its place as one of Toyota's most disappointing modern engines. But yep, that's enough for those supposedly failures. Let me flip the switch so that you can see the Toyota engines that made Toyota, Toyota. Best Toyota engine Hasson, 2JZ 3-liter, turbo 1.6, 1,990 seconds, Supra. Now, if the 3VZE and 2AZFE made Toyota owners pull their hair out, the 2JZ GTE is the exact opposite. It's the engine that turned Toyota into a legend on the streets and the track. Dropped into the MKIV Supra in the 90 seconds, this 3-liter inline-six with twin turbos was an absolute monster, and it wasn't just about horsepower numbers. Heck, stock it made 276 horsepower in Japan and about 320 horsepower in the US, but everybody knows that was just the tip of the iceberg. The real magic came from how overbuilt it was. Toyota gave this thing a cast-iron block, beefy internals, and an oiling system that could take abuse all day. Tuners figured out real quick you could crank the boost, throw bigger turbos on it, and suddenly you were making 600, 800, even 1,000 horsepower without cracking open the bottom end. That's unheard of for most production engines. And yeah, it wasn't some fragile race motor. Bone stock. These engines were known to go 200,000 to 300,000 miles with basic maintenance. You could daily drive a Supra, beat the hell out of it on weekends, and still trust it to start every Monday morning. That's why the 2JZ name carries weight across the world. The 2JZ GTE showed just how far Toyota could push engineering when it wanted to. But not every hero was a high-horsepower turbo beast. Some of Toyota's best engines were dead simple, like the old 22R and 22RE. And that's exactly where we're headed next. Best Toyota engine #2, 22R and 22RE, 2.4, lighter 1.4, late 1,000, 970 seconds. 1,990 seconds, trucks. If there's one engine that defines Toyota's truck legacy in America, it's the 22R and its fuel-injected brother, the 22RE. This little 4-liter four-cylinder showed up in Toyota pickups and 4Runners from the late 70 seconds through the mid-90 seconds, and heck, it built the reputation that Toyota trucks are still cashing in on today. Now, you weren't getting mind-blowing numbers here. Early 22Rs made about 96 horsepower, and even the later 22RE barely cracked 110. But that didn't matter. What mattered was how damn tough these engines were. They had simple timing chain setups, a cast-iron block with an aluminum head, and they'd run forever on nothing but oil changes and the occasional valve adjustment. I've seen these motors blow past 300,000 miles, and plenty of folks pushed them to 400 to 500 kelvins before thinking about a rebuild. The fuel-injected 22RE made them even sweeter. Cold starts were easier, fuel economy improved a bit, and the motor was just as reliable. These things thrived in abuse. Guys ran them in Baja races, farmers worked them to death on ranches, and weekend warriors took them off-road every chance they got. And when something did break, parts were cheap and fixes were simple. That combination made the 22R and 22RE an icon. To this day, you'll find 22RE-powered trucks, still hauling, still climbing trails, and still starting up with a twist of the key. It's the engine that proved Toyota knew how to build something unkillable. And then, Toyota took that bulletproof mindset and applied it to a whole different animal, the overbuilt, silky smooth one UZF V8. That one's up next. Best Toyota engine #3, 1.SV, 4-liter V8, Lexus LS, 400 divided by GS, 400 divided by SC 400. The 1UZFE is one of those engines that makes you shake your head and wonder if Toyota ever planned on making money off it. because they flat out overbuilt the damn thing. Rolled out in 1989 with the first Lexus LS 400. This 4-liter DOHC V8 was Toyota's way of telling the world they could play in Mercedes and BMW's backyard and beat them at their own game. This motor was a masterpiece. Aluminum block, aluminum heads, 6-bolt main caps, forged crankshaft, and insanely tight tolerances. Toyota designed it to be buttery smooth, but also tough enough to run flat out on the Autobahn all day. It made around 250 horsepower and 260 pound-feet of torque in stock trim. But the numbers don't tell the story. The way it delivered that power was seamless. No vibration, no drama, just quiet strength. And here's where it gets wild. Durability. These things rack up 300,000 to 400,000 miles without breaking a sweat. Taxi fleets in Asia and the Middle East ran them into the ground and couldn't kill them. Enthusiasts started swapping them into drift cars and hot rods because they could take abuse like a race motor but still idle smoothly enough for daily driving. The 1UZ-FE cemented Lexus as a serious luxury brand and gave Toyota bragging rights they've held ever since. It proved they could build a V8 as refined as the Germans, but tough as nails, and that combo is rare. So when you look back, Toyota's engine history is a mix of flops and legends. And the 1UZ-FE? That's one of the all-time greats.